hard to talk about, to the point of embarrassment. My parents got divorced. I went up to hang out with my father at his house upstate. He got up early to go to breakfast or whatever. I went wandering around the house, and I went into his room, and I saw this jewelry, women's jewelry, and frilly clothes, and I thought, my God, my dad's already got another woman. When I got home, I said, Dad, how can you do this? And he said, no, it's not what you think. He likes to wear women's clothing. I mean, normally I would have laughed at that, but I can't laugh at this. I mean, my father, he said he couldn't explain it to me any more than he could to himself. And all I could think was, my God, this is my father. How can I accept this?
Transvestic fetishism is a disorder in which men experience an irresistible compulsion to dress in women's clothing. Men with this condition typically begin cross-dressing in childhood or adolescence, and cross-dressing becomes an essential aspect of achieving sexual gratification. In the following interview, Ronnie, a 65-year-old retired engineer, describes a childhood interest in cross-dressing. As Ronnie passed through puberty, his cross-dressing became sexually arousing, and in the ensuing years took on a more important and sometimes distressing role.
When I started out, I was in the closet. I would wear my mother's clothes. I didn't have any sisters. And I would wear her clothes and feel this comfort level and felt good. And it was a kind of a release from the tensions of the day, even though I was young, 10 years old or a little younger. And I did that all through grade school off and on. And like I said, it was pre-pubescent. You didn't know anything about sex. When you got a little older, you started wearing more frilly things. And when I started to outgrow my mother's things and I was brave enough to go buy things, this is for my mother or this is for my sister for her birthday or whatever. And then you'd get sexually turned on about this. I went through life wondering, what am I? Am I a woman trapped in a man's body? Am I bisexual? Am I homosexual? I didn't even know what a homosexual was when I first got going. I didn't even know what a cross-dresser was. I didn't even know what a transvestite was. And so I had all these questions, and I tried to be a macho boy. The girls would go off and play with their dolls, and I'd want to go play with them. They'd say, no, you got to go do boy stuff and play with the boys. So we'd go with the boys, you know, and we'd spit and swear and cuss and, you know, play in the mud and play football. And later on, when I found out what girls are and you reach puberty and stuff, you try to be really macho with it. But you always come back to this cross-dressing thing. You want to bring out the femininity, and you don't quite understand that. You don't know what's happening.
Ronnie has enjoyed cross-dressing throughout his adult life. He lives life as a female and says that cross-dressing provides a sense of relaxation and relief. Ronnie is sexually attracted to women, but explains that this interest wanes when cross-dressing. He explains that over the years, it has become quite natural to dress as a woman, and explains that the goal now is simply to blend in and be accepted in society as a woman.
I was married 14 years, and we had some problems other than the cross-dressing. My wife didn't know about it. I kept it from her. I had clothes hidden in the attic and that I had purchased, and she would take the kids and go back to Boise, where she was from, to visit her parents, because she knew I was always bored when I went back there. So when she was gone for 2 weeks, I had her ball being a cross-dresser. And then she'd come home, I'd put everything away again. And I can't honestly say that cross-dressing had nothing to do with it, because if a person isn't able to cross-dress, even if he's married, he gets very grumpy and irritable. It's kind of a stressful situation. He needs the release of cross-dressing. I equate it to having a really, really bad day at work. Your boss yells at you and your projects don't go right. You came in late. You may have had a flat tire. You know, the work just sucks. So on the way home, you stop at the lounge and you have a drink And I call that the attitude readjustment hour. A couple of drinks, you feel great again. You know, you can take on the world. You go home, you're happy. Cross-dressing's the same way. You have a really bad day and you wanted to cross-dress, but you couldn't do that. And then if you can cross-dress, it releases all that stress. I'm retired and have been divorced for 25 years or more. I go out all the time. I live practically 90% of my time this way. And I do all my errands, shopping. I've had seasonal opera tickets, seasonal symphony tickets, and I go to those dressed as Ronnie, of course, and study the other women and what they're wearing. What are opera clothes? What are symphony clothes? And I go out and buy those, so I just blend in. I want to blend in with society. If you go out and, like some women, and I kind of envy them in a way, are real flashy and they wear really great clothes and, you know, they have nice figures and everything, and they're outstanding and they attract a lot of attention, but they're female. Now, if I did that, if I attracted that much attention, people would soon start picking up the male traits and then determine that, yeah, I really am a male, a man in a dress. So if you blend in and do what the women do and dress like most of the women do, you really don't have a problem with it. Because people, by and large, do not expect to find cross-dressers, transvestites, or whatever at the opera. I've done it for so long now, it's a natural thing to be feminine. So that it's not a feeling of necessarily being a male, but more of a sense of portraying being female, but not really working at it hard anymore because it's becoming more natural. And I can go back and do the makeup and the clothes and be out of here and very quickly anymore, where it used to take me hours to do all that because I've done it so much. And I can go out and not feel threatened when I step out into the world. Whereas a person who doesn't get to do that very often sometimes is a little hesitant to open that front door and make that first step because they're not, you know, all of a sudden they've made a really drastic change. And I haven't, because it's more natural to me. So the feeling then becomes, I think, for me, more just as being a human being. Sometimes I don't even think about the fact that I'm female. And I'll be walking through stores or something and walk by a mirror and look in the mirror and say, oh, that's me. You know, and then it just rings a bell and says, hey, yeah, I'm a female. Look at how I'm dressed. Otherwise, I'm just another person doing another thing. And it's more of a natural thing. Not that I'm trying to be female, I just am female. I'm just a person doing whatever I need to do. So the sexiness, the sexualness, the femininity part sort of blends into your persona, and you're just another person doing things. Just like a male would be, they're a male all the time, or a female, they're a female all the time. They don't think about their sexuality all the time. They don't think about the clothes that they're wearing all the time, other than just dressing for whatever they're going to do. And once they've dressed that way and they're doing whatever they need to do, they don't think about that. They just fit in.
Ronnie believes that the need to be feminine was both inevitable and inborn. Throughout life, Ronnie made several attempts to stop cross-dressing, but has always returned to it. He admits that the need to cross-dress has led to conflicts and loneliness throughout life, and expresses the wish of having been born with a female body.
I thoroughly believe we were born that way. There's something in our brain, there's something in our chromosomes that make us that way. I'm not totally masculine, I'm not totally feminine. I'm something in between. There's something in my brain that wants me to express the feminine part of my persona more than the male part. I dress this way because I'm trying to express the femininity that I have within myself. I would rather live in the world as a female. If I'd have had my druthers, I would have rather been born female. I always thought that my body as a male, well, that's what I was born with. And eventually maybe I can find out that I really am a transsexual and want to go for the operation, and they can do things to alter your body to make it more feminine. And then I thought, well, I really don't want to do that because I have 3 children who would lose their father, and that would be devastating for them. And I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want them to lose their father. And I like being their father. It's a lonely life for a lot of the reasons that I described, because you don't have anybody that you're really close to in a romantic way. it's difficult because everyone goes through a very emotional, traumatic, guilt-ridden, blue depression type situation, trying to discover their sexuality and what kind of a person they are. I mean, it's tough enough growing up through teenage years, trying to discover, going from childhood to teenage to adult. That's a difficult time in a person's life. But to be thrown in with the fact that you don't know what gender you are, what gender you want to be, you add all of that and the secretness that you go through in your life to keep this from everybody, trying to keep it from your job, trying to keep it from your family, trying to keep it from your friends because you didn't want the ridicule or you didn't want to lose your job. I mean, it's a traumatic thing. And then you're searching and searching and searching, trying to find answers. And when I started out at 20, 18 years old, all I could find were very, very scientific papers that were just difficult to understand. They were not very practical things. There was not that much study done on it. Now there's lots of material out there. There's lots of television programs. There's lots of books. There's lots of clubs like the one I belong to. There's lots of national organizations to get information from. So by and large, the kids nowadays that are coming up, 18, 20, 25, a lot of them are making the change through the transgender surgery at a lot earlier age because they know they've explored all of this and determined that's what they wanted to do. Our club and outreach things make it easier for people to come to grips with their self, with their lifestyle at a lot earlier age, so they don't have to suffer through 20, 30 years of marriage or lifestyle after they're 20 to figure out what they really are.